មួយចុះ
President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and the floor is given to Judge Lavange to resume the questioning.
President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to revisit the conversations you had with Son Sen and Nunchia. During these conversations, did you speak with either Nunchia or Son Sen issues regarding the Cham? And if yes, what did you hear regarding the Cham? Did you hear about massive executions of Chams? Or did you hear about a policy that had to be implemented vis-à-vis the Cham?
Witness, thank you, Your Honor. Both Brother Son Sen and Brother Noon never instructed me about Cham people. Massive execution of Cham people was based on my presumption on the telegram of Brother Perm in relation to 500,000 Cham people that needed to be removed from the riverbank and send them to the central zone. There was a document in relation to the execution of Muslim people in Arab village, not Cham people. So I made my statement based on my assumption in relation to the document that I have seen.
And what about the execution of these Muslims in the Arab village? Were these Cham Muslims or were these Muslims from abroad?
Regarding Arab village, I used to see that Arab village in 1959 or 1960 when I came to participate and join the secondary high school exam. And those people, I believe, were Indian and they practiced Islam. That Arab village at the time was located in the vicinity of Steng Mien Chey. Later on, I saw the list of peoples evacuated from Tak Mau. I saw a document stating that Muslims were evacuated out of Arab village to other locations. And those Muslims were later on instructed by the party to send to Tak Mau. So my knowledge is based on the document that I read. I presumed that those Muslims were executed. I made my statement based on my assumption when I was tried in case 001, Your Honor.
Fine. So when those facts occurred, you didn't receive any specific information regarding these people. This is information that you obtained afterwards, during your trial. Am I correct?
Voilà, je vois que vous hochez.
I see that you're nodding, so therefore I consider that you answered yes to that question. So at any point in time during your discussions or at other moments during the DK period, did you hear that the Cham had to be considered as enemies?
Thank you, Your Honor. Considering Cham people as enemies, in fact, I made an observation when I was tried in case 00, when I was participating in case 002/01. Brother Pum made a mention about 500 Cham people who needed to be removed out of the riverbank, and then they had to be sent to the central zone, and Brother Paul denied the request. And at the time, Salpum did not refer to them as Cham people, but he referred to them as a Muslim.
The document you're referring to, in which Pum is requesting to send the Muslims to the central zone, is this a document you saw back then when you were at S21, or is this a document that you saw during your trial?
That document was shown to me during the proceedings against me in case 001.
Now I would like to discuss the last days at S21. You told us that Lung Chia gave you the order to execute the last prisoners. When did he give you this order? When you met with him? Or did he send you a written order? What happened?
He called me to work with him at the time. He issued the order verbally. And after the order, I asked him about Yuan. In fact, before that time, we interrogated Yuan prisoners and broadcasted their confession over the radio. And as I said, I kept 4 Yuans from Y8 or your 8. And I responded to the question to your honors already that Lung Chia called me to receive the verbal order.
Do you remember where the 4 members of Y8 were detained? Because we have a certain number of photographs that were taken apparently during the discovery of S21 by the Vietnamese troops, and we see photographs of people, dead people on beds. Can you tell us where these prisoners were detained and who was killed on those beds, if you remember?
After they were smashed, the interrogation of young prisoners started to happen, and at 10 a.m. in the morning on that day, the tanks of Vietnamese were driving on the road, and it was said that the enemies were coming in. At the time, we did not even have time to eat our rice, and I was told that Nat, based on the instruction of the upper echelon to be on our mastery, Nat killed all of those 4 people already. There were a set of photographs available. Nong Jan Paul, who came to testify before the chamber, said he saw the photographs, but the bodies in the photograph that he saw were not the decomposing bodies. So the photographs you mentioned that has something to do with the 4 members of Y8.
You said that Nat had killed the 4 prisoners. Who is this Nat? Because we know Nat in Nong. But which Nat are you speaking about here?
Thank you, Judge, for the clarification. Not Nat, Nan. Prat Nan, not Unlon, alias Nan. Nan was brought by me from Om Liang. He was the child of the peasants.
At one point in time, did you receive the order from Nun Chia or from someone else to destroy the S-21 archives?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to recall what I can remember. On 6 January 1979, let me rephrase. Lin, in fact, called me to work with me on that day. At first, I thought Lin wanted to work with me, but in fact, it was Brother Haim who wanted to have me to work with him. I was advised to work as normal. San and Ruan were defending the regime. And at around 9 o'clock, my younger sibling came, and I was told by him that Uncle Peel wanted him to rest. I was doubtful at the time because I had received the instruction from the party in the morning at 9 a.m. and at around 10 or 11 I heard the sounds of tanks moving, and at 11 o'clock I noticed that Yuan tanks were approaching, so I left my house. So Brother Nguyen never instructed me on the issue. And at the time, I thought of having the weapons with us so that I could go to fight with the Yuans and to get the documents remaining. So let me clarify it again. No instruction was given to me by Brother Nguyen or Brother Haim to destroy all the documents. Brother Haim advised me to work as normal, and Brother Nguyen, Uncle Nguyen, said nothing at the time. That's all I can tell you.
Later, were you criticized by Nunchea or by other people for not having destroyed the S-21 archive?
Thank you, Your Honor. To my recollection, I told Christophe Pessu about the matter. In 1983, that was the first time I met Uncle Nguyen after the regime. And on the day, he said that back then, on the 6th of January 1979, I did not work with him but Brother Haim. But in 1983, I made mention that documents remained at the time, and there was no instruction to destroy the documents. And he scolded me at the time, to my recollection. So again, in 1983, he says that documents of the center had been destroyed, and he said that I did not destroy the other documents at the S-21. He scolded me at the time, to my recollection. In June 1986, I met Sun Sen before I was sent to China. Sun Sen called me to see him, and I made a mention about the documents, and he also says that he also scolded me at the time, I mean Brother Sun Sen, that I did not destroy all the documents. In 1983, I was once scolded by Nguyen Jia that I kept all the documents and did not destroy them. And as for the maps controlled or owned by an individual that I could not recall, were transported out. So I believe I have answered beyond the limit of the question, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to another topic, and I would like document E3/9841 to be shown to you. This is a document containing prisoner lists, and it's a rather particular document because the format is unusual. These are prisoner lists that were written on old invoices. So is it possible to provide document E3/9841 to the witness? And is it possible to display the second page of this document on the screen?
President, yes, please proceed. And AV units, please show the document on the screens as requested by Judge Lavenia.
So this is a document that is several pages long. I believe you only have 2 pages of this document, witness, but in reality the document is longer. It contains maybe about 10 pages. And on the cover page we can see the following. It's in English.
Incoming list. All comrades are requested not to tear or touch this book, and one shall not tear off any page of the book, as these are merely the list of enemies. Thank you in advance. Alors.
So, then we have prisoner lists in this document. And I'd like you to look at the annotation that is at the bottom of the page that was provided to you. This is page ERN 01009861. And this document is at ERN 01009861 to 75 in Khmer. In English, there's an ERN, but I forgot to note it down. At the bottom of this page, so if you could please display on the screen the bottom of this page, there is an annotation that apparently mentions the execution of prisoners at Tak Mau. And the document is dated 14 November 1976. Do you see this annotation, witness? And can you tell us if you recognize the handwriting in this document?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have never seen this document, first of all. And Your Honors may have observed that it is a bit strange after reading the document. Number 3, I could say that we did not have enough paper to use at the time, so we used invoice of Seng Hong at the time. I myself have never seen such a document. And I do not know who gave this document to Nad. As for the date is 14 November 1976. By that date, I believe S21 had papers to use. The papers that, the normal paper that we had, the A4. I cannot recall the names within the document. So this is all I can tell you, Your Honor. I cannot make a conclusion on the document, but I am a bit suspicious in relation to this document.
Well, I'd like to specify that on this list we can see the names of many prisoners, and in particular Cambodians who returned from France. We find some of these names in another S21 list, prisoner list E3/3597, and this, in fact, is a list in which we see the name of Professor Ton. Ton corrects the interpreter. There's another prisoner by the name of Atchanda, alias Patpai, and this name also appears in another S21 document, document E3/3180. And there is also a certain number of prisoners on this list who came from the Chak Angrai power plant. Can you tell us a little bit about the Chak Angrai power plant?
concerning this document and the list of prisoners at S21, I do not have anything to say and to comment on these documents. But in relation to electricity power plant, the chief of electricity power plant was a former Khmer Rouge who had been imprisoned together with me, and after we were released, we were engaged in the activities together, and his name, to my recollection, was John. He was arrested. I know this individual, and I used to visit the power plant, the electricity and the water treatment location. Yes, I made a visit, but that visit was informal one. Later on, the power plant did not have the maps of a sewage system or the wire installation. I had the maps, so I provided the maps to that power plant. So again, we had informal communication, and we had work cooperation. As for the arrests of certain individuals, I do not really understand. I do not have any comments.
I apologize for interrupting, but just a small observation. It seems there is a wrong translation of a date in the Khmer version of E3/9841. The very first page, 01009861. I think in Khmer it clearly says 13 November 76, but in the English translation it's 13 November 75. So maybe this would be a moment to have that corrected.
Je ne pense pas avoir parlé de l'année 1900.
I do not believe I talked of the year 1975. I believe I've always talked of the year 1976.
I agree. It's not you. It's the document. It's the translation that is wrong in the document.
Ce qui m'importe, c'est qu'à la page.
What is important is that on page 2 of the document, and subsequently at 2 places, reference is made to executions carried out at Tak Mau, and this is what it states in English.
To bis match. 14 Novembre.
14th of November 1976.
Et la dernière date qui.
And the last date on the list is the 30th of October 1976. Yes, indeed, there is an error in it.
Bien. Juste une digression par rapport.
Very well. If I may digress slightly from what you're saying regarding your friend, the former director of the Chak Angre power plant, you stated that he was arrested. Do you recall a specific incident regarding the interrogation of that director? Did he implicate anyone in particular?
I cannot recall that. And I don't recall his official name or native name. I can only recall his revolutionary name, that is Comrade John.
Vous avez parlé.
You talked about Yuk Chung. That was at the hearing of the 28th of March, 2012. document E1/51.1 on page 95. And you stated that that person had implicated Khieu Samphan. That is in those confessions, in his confessions, and you said that subsequently you received instructions from Nuon Chea to remove Khieu Samphan's name from those confessions, and particular explanations were given. Can you give us further detail as to what happened?
Before I respond to your question, allow me to clarify one thing. The location at Takmau was abandoned by us by end of March. That is when Naj was no longer the chairperson. So by June of that year, there was no longer any execution at the Takmau. So this is contradicting to the date in this document. Second, Your Honor raised the matter, and that was what I stated during the meeting, and that's what actually happened. Comrade John that is his alias, and his name was Yuk Chung, and I just reported the matter to Your Honor about my contact. During the interrogation, it was Brother Ham who was his official or contact or his hidden network. I raised the matter and I was scolded by Uncle Nuon. He said that maybe in Cambodia only Paul and Jew were not involved, as the rest were all implicated in the CIA, and that I should work properly, otherwise I would be sent to work at an embassy. And that's what I stated earlier as well about the phrase that I used, I would be assigned to work in an embassy. And after that he instructed not to allow Brother John to say anything more about Brother Ham.
Et donc, vous avez retiré.
And so, you withdrew the name of Brother Ham from the confessions. Is that correct?
That was the party's discipline. When a party did not want any name to be included, of course, I removed the name.
Il y a, parmi les dernières pages,
In the last pages of the document, reference is made to prisoners, and in English, this is what is stated.
est-ce que vous avez
Did you receive prisoners who had been handed over by the Vietnamese authorities? Or what do you mean by Von de Yoon?
Je ne suis pas sûr que ça soit sur les pages que vous ayez.
I am not sure this is on the pages you have. That is the reference from the Yoon. Witness, are you hearing me? Can you hear me?
C'est à l'ERN
The ERN is 01009874. And it is the last but one page of the document.
pense que vous êtes à la bonne page.
Very well, I think you're on the right page now. To your knowledge, were there any prisoners handed over by the Vietnamese authorities to the Kampuchea authorities during the period of democratic Kampuchea?
Your Honor, no, there was none. And not even for these minor people. Sơn Ngọc Thành was a famous person, and the Labour Party of Vietnam reported to CPK that Sơn Ngọc Thành was arrested, and CPK did not react to that information, and whatever the Vietnamese party wanted to do with that Sơn Ngọc Thành, let them do it. So there was no way that Vietnam ever sent such prisoners to Cambodia.
Alors,
Very well. How about Cambodian prisoners handed over to Thai authorities? Do you recall any Thai prisoners who were handed over and were subsequently detained at S21?
qu'on remette au
And if it's possible, may I request that the witness be provided with the following documents: E3/961, E3/2269, those two documents.
Yes, court officer, please provide the document.
Avant de regarder les documents, est-ce que vous pouvez me répondre?
Before looking at the documents, can you please answer my question, witness?
That was based on the actual occurrence and the reaction between Thai and Cambodia side. Brother Khan was a liaison officer between Thai and Cambodia at the time, and Thai prisoners were sent to Cambodia, and in fact I forgot about that. However, during the proceedings in case 001, I was provided a document with the last three digit of 147, and of course I acknowledged the letter since I saw my annotation there. So that is true that 26 of them were sent back. That is all. Thank you.
Alors, on a
Now we have several documents relating to those prisoners who were not Thai but Cambodian and who were handed over by the Thai authorities. First of all, we have document E3/961. That is a dispatch letter dated the 25th of November 1976. It was sent by the Committee of the Revolutionary Army of the Northwest Zone, and it has to do with the dispatch of 25 traitors repatriated by the Thai authorities, including a child aged 11, and the sender is M16. In other words, Office 16, The ERN in Khmer is 000-90147. In French, 0081 27 55 56. First of all, what is this office referred to as M16? What does it correspond to?
Thank you, Your Honor. I cannot recall about Office M16, and allow me to say that the document that I was given was not given to me during my trial, and that I was not asked to make comment on this document in case 001.
Bien, peu importe ce qui m'importe.
Well, notwithstanding that, what matters today is your reactions today. We have another document, E3/2269. It is the same list of prisoners entitled in English,
On a name list of prisoners. Il y a marqué ceci.
and it is clearly indicated
Through Cities Messengers Unit. Alors, le document.
Now, the document points out that it has to do with different persons, soldiers and civilians who fled to Thailand and were sent back on the 23rd of November 1976. Furthermore, on the right-hand side, at the top of the page, you have a handwritten annotation which appears to be signed by Doug, and the ERNs are 0101 0578 in English, 0018 1640 to 641 in French, 0086 9779. Do you recognize these annotations, witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. My last comment to your last question, there was that the document was not shown to me during my trial in case 001, and I refer to this document. From the first look, the handwriting is mine, and allow me to repeat it, but it was not shown to me in case 001's proceedings. That is about the report of prisoners in Sector 5 through a messenger, cities messengers group. Yes, there was Sector 5 and there were city messengers. But frankly speaking, I cannot recall this document. I neither deny it nor acknowledge it because I simply cannot recall it. And if this document actually survives, that was unlikely because it would have been destroyed.
Alors, je précise que
Let me point out that we have a third document concerning the same prisoners, since the same persons were listed on an S21 list with the title, name of prisoners who entered on the 27th of November 1976 and who hailed from Battambang and had fled to Thailand. document E3/8447, ERN in Khmer 0028 85 87, French 0081 0091 to 92, English 0078 46 32 to 33. Let me also point out that the majority of the names of these prisoners can be found on two other lists from S21, list E3/2231, list of prisoners to be held. And we see basically numbers 35 to 43, 45, 46, 50 to 56. And we also have the list E3/3858. This last list is a list of prisoners executed on the 12th of May 1977. Now, witness, you do not appear to have much recollections regarding that event. Do you nevertheless know whether those prisoners were sent directly to S21 or they transited through a unit in Phnom Penh? And if yes, which unit?
Thank you, Your Honor. Please, I would like to get permission to compare the list of these prisoners to the compiled list of S21 prisoners. And if the names appeared on that S21 prisoners list, that would be the end of the matter. And if not, it might be possible that these people were entered before the list was compiled.
Alors, on vous remettra.
Now, we'll give you the documents. We've already given you a number of documents. Let me point out that these are events that occurred in 1977. Do you recall whether there was only one dispatch of prisoners from Thailand, or prisoners were dispatched on several occasions from Thailand to Cambodia?
Based on my recollection, I cannot recall about this particular document E3/961, and only when the document was shown to me, I recall that Brother Su was the liaison officer between Thai and Cambodia, and 26 prisoners were sent in. Besides that event, I cannot recall any other specific event, and for that matter, I insist that I shall be able to compare the names of the people on this list to the list of prisoners at S21. If they were there, we could conclude that they were sent in and then they were executed.
Bien, je pense que la Chambre.
Very well. I believe the Chamber will assess the evidence and cross-check the information contained in those documents. But do you recall whether at S21 there were any Thai prisoners? Do you recall seeing among foreign prisoners Thai prisoners, including Thai fishermen?
Qu'est-ce qui leur est arrivé?
And what happened to them?
On the list of S21 prisoners, there were Thai prisoners, and there were about 600 of them who entered as 21. Initially, it sounds a bit strange to me, but now I acknowledge that at one point, Ho left as 21, and at that time, as 21 was still located at the National Police Headquarters. So he went to Kampong Sam to kill a number of Thai prisoners there. And maybe the names appear on the old list of Division 164, who was sent to the General Staff, and later on it came to the hand of I-21. But later on I recall that at the time I was a deputy chairman, and Ho was sent to smash those 600 also Thai people at Kampong Sam.
Donc, selon vous, il n'y a pas eu...
So, according to you, there were no Thai prisoners detained at S21 in Phnom Penh, and all Thai prisoners were all executed at Kampong Sam by Ho alone. 600 persons.
No, he did not went alone. He was part of a group on mission, and at that time I was a deputy chairman, and the order came from the upper echelon, and NAD relayed that order. Of course, I did not deny that crime. It was a crime committed by S21, and it is evident in the document, and the document actually jogs my memory. And Your Honor's question is that whether Ho went alone, and my response is that no, he did not went alone. He was part of a group who went on a mission.
Bien, on va...
Very well, let us move on to another line of questioning. And we'll talk about two specific prisoners detained at S21. We are talking of the two nieces of Nuon Chia. We've already referred to them. And on the one hand, we have Lak Dara, alias Pan, and Lak Vari, alias Nan. Lak Dara, alias Pang, was, according to information received, which I've been able to read on the documents, she was the director of the laboratory of the 17th April Hospital. And you can also read this in document E3/1851. Khmer ERN is 000795888. English 00250783. French 00759986 to 94. The name Lak Dara also appears on two prisoner lists at the Ministry of Social Affairs. The documents E3/1946 and E3/2213. ERN in Khmer 000400035 and ERN in English 00887859 and 00184006. There is no French translation. Lakdara is referred to as the spouse of the despicable Sat. And on the line below that, we have the name Mentol alias Sat, arrested on the 1st of May 1978, member of the medical committee of the Hospital 17, that is Hospital April 17, regarding Lakvari alias Nan. It was said that she was the chief medical officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. See her confessions at document E3/1557, ERN in Khmer 0007639 to 00076 in English 00768111 to 131, and the French ERN is 0078215926. Lakvari's name also appears on a prisoner list from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, document E3/8539, ERN in English 0018166, and she is described in that document as the spouse of the despicable Yun. And on the line below that, we have the name Pik Un alias Yun, Chief of Office B62 at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it is indicated that both of them were arrested on the 9th of June 1978. And lastly, we have the confessions of Pik Un alias Yun on record, and reference number is E3/1857, ERN in Khmer 0007559 to 560. We have more than 500 pages of confessions, and the ERN in English is 00764001 and 001935545 to 55, and in French 00733677. Do you remember Lakdara alias Dan and Lakvari? Do you recall who their husbands were? And do you recall the circumstances under which they were arrested, the reasons why they were arrested?
Allow me to say this, these two young persons, Nat and Ton, I knew that they were nephew of Uncle Noon. And a few days ago, I spoke about that as well, that I had plenty of medics to use. First, Rod Good, and then Professor Sing Seng, and later on, Hat Pa Det, the wife of Siang Lai Ni, who went to study medicine in the former Soviet Union, and like Dara Alice Thorn, who studied that same profession in China. And like Dara Alice Thorn was a nephew of Uncle Noon. And for Sad was the husband of Thorn. And the document annotated by Nai spoke about the persons and about the belongings. And I, in my presentation, that we should look at brother number 2. Even in the case of Lai Dara, he allows Lai Dara to be arrested and sent to S21. That is Comrade Thorn, but in the Mom Nice document, he used the name Sad instead. I cannot recall about the details of the confessions or her husband's confessions. That is June, that ran into 500 pages. So I do not know the content of that confession. I did not read it because it was not part of the confessions that the upper echelon were interested in. However, I could say that the truth actually arrived at 21. Sad, Nan and the husband were smashed and torn, survived. Later on, we fled the Vietnamese soldiers, and the person died along the way from lack of food. President, thank you. It is now convenient for our short break. For our lunch break. We'll take a break now and resume at 1:30. Security personnel, you are starting to take Key Sampon and witness Kang Gai Il to separate waiting rooms downstairs, and have Key Sampon to return to the courtroom before 1:30. As for Kang Gai Il, inviting back into the courtroom at 1:30, the court is now in